The Boy Who Spoke to the Rain. The rain started the same night Araf lost his home. Dark clouds covered the city without warning, and heavier. Water poured from the sky like someone had broken the gates of heaven. Streets flooded within minutes. Shops closed early. People rushed home with umbrellas and frightened faces. But Araf had nowhere to go. At 17 years old, he stood alone beneath the broken roof of an abandoned bus stop, holding a small backpack that carried everything left of his life. 2 shirts, 1 notebook, a photograph of his parents, and a dream he refused to abandon. Only 3 days earlier, Araf had lived in a tiny rented apartment with his father. Life was difficult, but they survived somehow. His father worked as a mechanic in a small garage near the railway station. The money was never enough yet. His father always smiled. Poor people survive on hope, he used to say, and hope is free. Then came the accident. A truck driver lost control during a storm and crashed into the garage. Araf's father did not survive. The owner of the apartment demanded rent they could no longer pay. Relatives disappeared, neighbors stopped answering their doors. Within 72 hours, Araf became invisible to the world. Thunder shook the city. Araf sat on the cold bench and stared at the rain. That was when he heard the voice. "You look like someone the world forgot." Araf turned quickly. An old man stood nearby wearing a long black coat. His silver beard reached almost to his chest, and strange calmness surrounded him despite the storm. "I'm fine," Araf replied quietly. The old man smiled. "No one sitting alone in the rain is ever fine." He walked closer and handed Araf a small cup of hot tea. "Drink," he said. "The night is too cold for sadness." Araf accepted the tea carefully. "Thank you." The old man sat beside him without asking permission. For several minutes neither spoke. They simply listened to the sound of rain crashing against the empty road. Finally the old man asked, "What do you want from life?" Araf laughed bitterly. "Right now food would be nice." "No," the man said softly. "What do you truly want?" Araf looked down at the steaming tea. "I want to become someone important, someone people cannot ignore." The old man nodded slowly as if he had expected the answer. "Then perhaps the rain brought me here for a reason." From his pocket he removed a strange silver watch. It looked ancient yet beautiful. Tiny symbols were carved around its edges, and the glass reflected light even in darkness. "This belonged to my son," the man said. "He believed time could change people." Araf stared at it carefully. "It looks expensive." "It is far more dangerous than expensive." The old man placed the watch in Araf's hand. "Every midnight this watch will show you one moment from your future." Araf frowned. "What?" "You heard me." "That's impossible. Most important things are." The old man stood up. "One warning," he added. "The future is like rainwater. Touch it too much and everything changes shape." Before Araf could ask another question, lightning flashed across the sky. For a brief second the road became bright white. Then the old man disappeared. Completely. Araf stood in shock. The street was empty. Only the rain remained. He looked down at the watch again. Its hands moved silently. 11:57 p.m. "This has to be some kind of joke," he whispered. Still he kept the watch. That night Araf slept inside an unfinished building near the market. Wind entered through. Broken windows and stray dogs barked outside. At exactly midnight the watch began glowing faint blue. Araf jumped awake. The glass surface suddenly turned dark like a television screen. Then an image appeared. A man in a black suit stood on a stage while hundreds of people applauded loudly. Cameras flashed everywhere. The man smiled confidently. It took Araf several seconds to realize the man was him. Older, rich, powerful. Behind him hung a giant screen displaying the words, "Araf Malhotra, youngest tech CEO of the year." A reporter asked, "Sir, what inspired your success?" Future Araf answered calmly, "The rain." The screen went black. The watch returned to normal. Araf stared at it with shaking hands. His heart pounded wildly. What was that? For the first time since his father's death, hope returned. The next morning, Araf walked through the city searching for work. He eventually found a small electronics repair shop owned by a strict man named Mr. Khanna. "We don't hire kids," Mr. Khanna said. "I can learn fast. I don't care. I'll work for half salary." Mr. Khanna narrowed his eyes. "You must be desperate." "I am." After a long silence, the man sighed. "Fine, clean the shop first." That became Araf's beginning. Days turned into weeks. He repaired phones, cleaned wires, carried heavy boxes, and learned everything about machines. At night, he studied old programming books from the public library. And every midnight, the watch showed another glimpse of the future. Sometimes he saw himself speaking at conferences. Sometimes he saw expensive offices. Sometimes he saw interviews where people admired him. The visions motivated him. Whenever exhaustion attacked him, he remembered the future version of himself, standing proudly before the world. Years passed. Araf worked harder than anyone around him. At 22, he created a small mobile app that helped local businesses manage deliveries during floods and storms. No investor believed in him initially. No market. Too risky. Not profitable. But Araf refused to quit, because every midnight the watch continued showing success. Eventually, one investor agreed to support him. Then another. Then another. His app became popular across several cities. Money arrived slowly at first, then all at once. Within 5 years, Araf became one of the youngest technology entrepreneurs in the country. News channels invited him for interviews. Magazines printed his face on covers. The same relatives who ignored him suddenly called every week. Old friends reappeared. Even strangers acted like they had always believed in him. But something else also changed. The future visions became darker. One midnight, the watch showed a room filled with broken glass and police officers. Another night, Araf saw himself shouting angrily at someone. Then came the worst vision. A woman crying beside a hospital bed. A doctor shaking his head. Machines flatlining. Araf woke in terror. "Who is dying?" he whispered. The watch remained silent. For the first time, fear replaced hope. He stopped sleeping properly. He became obsessed with changing the future. If he saw a business deal fail, he cancelled it before it happened. If he saw someone betray him, he removed them from his company immediately. At first it worked. The future changed, but every change created new problems. One cancelled meeting caused millions in losses. One fired employee later became a dangerous competitor. One avoided relationship turned into loneliness. The harder Araf tried controlling destiny, the more chaotic life became. His assistant Maya noticed the change. "You don't trust anyone anymore," she told him one evening. Araf rubbed his tired eyes. "You don't understand." "Then explain." "I can't." Maya looked disappointed. "You used to dream about building something meaningful. Now you only look afraid." After she left, Araf sat alone in his massive office. Rain hit the glass windows outside, just like the night he met the old man. At midnight, the watch glowed again. This time the vision shocked him more than any before. He saw himself older and completely alone. His company was collapsing. News channels called him a fraud. People protested outside his office building. Then future Araf looked directly toward the screen, toward him, and spoke. "You cannot escape every storm." The image shattered. The watch cracked across the middle. Araf dropped it in horror. The next morning he searched everywhere for the mysterious old man. Bus stations, markets, railway streets. Nobody recognized the description. Weeks passed. Then one rainy evening Araf finally saw him standing beside a tea stall near the river. "You," Araf said breathlessly. The old man smiled faintly. "You look tired." "What is happening to me?" "You are fighting time. You gave me that watch." "Yes, it ruined my life." "No," the old man replied calmly. "Fear ruined your life." Araf clenched his fists. "I only wanted to avoid pain." "That is impossible." The old man pointed toward the rain falling into the river. "Look carefully, every drop joins the water eventually. Some arrive peacefully, others crash violently. But none can stop falling." Araf remained silent. "The future is not a prison," the old man continued. "It is only a possibility." "Then why show me those visions?" "Because hope saved you once." The words struck deeply. Araf remembered the hopeless boy sitting in the rain years earlier. Without those visions, perhaps he would have surrendered completely. "You became successful because you worked hard," the old man said. "Not because of magic." "Then why did the watch show success before it happened?" The old man smiled gently. "Sometimes people only move forward after seeing light in the distance." Rain poured heavily around them. Araf looked down. "What about the terrible visions?" "Pain visits every life." "Can I stop it?" "Can you stop rain from touching earth?" Araf had no answer. The old man stepped closer. "You spent years trying to control tomorrow that you forgot to live today." Silence filled the air. Then Araf asked softly, "Who are you?" The old man's eyes carried strange sadness. "A father." "Nothing more?" Before Araf could speak again, thunder roared across the sky. People rushed for shelter. For one brief moment Araf looked away, and once again the old man vanished. Just like before, Araf stood alone beside the river, but this time he felt different. Calmer. That night he returned home and locked the cracked watch inside a drawer. For the first time in years, he ignored midnight completely. Days became peaceful again. Arav stopped obsessing over future disasters. He apologized to people he had pushed away. He rebuilt friendships. He laughed more. He rested. Most importantly, he allowed life to happen naturally. Months later, Maya visited his office. "You seem human again," she joked. Arav smiled. "I'm trying?" Together, they rebuilt the company slowly and honestly. Not everything became perfect. There were still losses, still mistakes, still painful moments. But there was happiness too. Real happiness. Years later, during an interview, a reporter asked Arav the same question. He had once seen in the vision, "What inspired your success?" Arav looked out the window. Rain tapped softly against the glass. He smiled gently. "The night I lost everything," he answered, "I learned that storms do not come to destroy us forever. Sometimes they arrive to wash away the life that was holding us back." The reporter nodded thoughtfully. "And what is the most important lesson you learned?" Arav paused before answering. "That the future should inspire you, not control you." Outside, the rain continued falling peacefully over the city. And somewhere beyond the crowded streets, an old man in a black coat walked silently beneath, the storm smiling at the people who still believed hope could change their lives.